us on a topic which is related to what our Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman ji, has said in an event that was held in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, felicitating the toppers of UPSC CSE 2024. As you all would be, there was some advertisement. As you all would be aware that UPSC recently released its results, and then thereon you must be seeing the toppers interviews, toppers mock talks, and seeing that you must have realized there are certain good candidates which I have also come across this year itself. On the other hand, there are also certain issues which have come up. For example, I saw a recent case which was related to something, this what you'll call as this fake certificates, like people using fake certificates to get quotas, OBC quota, then into this EWS which has recently come up. Then another case which I saw on social media, like differently abled category, like people showing this certificates or getting into the system using fake certificates. So that was one of the issues. The other issue which keeps on cropping up, that is related with this corruption issue or somebody not performing. And for most among all of these, I think one of the major issues which we keep on seeing again and again, that is of inefficiency, that is related with competence. So we'll be discussing all of these things with respect to what Nirmala ji has said in the system. Nirmala ji has said in that event, and she has said that the system is watching you. Now, what it means that the system is watching you? It simply means what she wanted to convey. As for me, it was a kind of advice, you can say. The very first thing. And also, it was a message. Plus, I would say a bit of warning. And lastly, I think what she conveyed resonates very well among all the student fraternities who wants to be an aspirant. Now, she said, no matter where you are, in which part of the country you're functioning, the system knows what you're doing, who is doing what. So it's a message to both, I would say, those people who are doing good, at the same time, those people who are not performing in an optimum manner, and also those who are misusing this job, misusing their privileges, and also entering into something that I would say as misadventures. So now let's see. Stay ethical. The system is watching. Now it is first part of the story that one should be ethical, or the selected candidates should be ethical. Why? Because the system is watching you. But here, I'm here to ask you, like, why this need has arises that the finance minister of a nation has to ask, be ethical, the system is watching you. Should it not be as if that those students who are getting into the system, they should be ethical by themselves? For example, why do we have this thing? Like, we keep on talking about this term, integrity. So it comes within the domain of ethics itself, that all the selected candidates who are getting selected, they must have an integrity, that regardless of if anybody is watching them or not watching them, they should be ethical. Now, what happens, especially with the younger bureaucrats, like there was a case which I studied few days ago. I'm very much sure this would have come across, you all people would have come across it also. Like there was a young lady, she was posted somewhere, it was her newly posting, and she was caught taking bribe. I mean, the very first posting, the very first days, and she was caught taking bribe. Now, where is your ethics? Where is your integrity? Now, when the finance minister is trying to convey that be ethical, the system is watching you, that means she is trying to give a stern warning to the selected candidates. But at the same time, as I said, the selected candidates should have it in themselves to develop an integrity. And also, this raises a question on the examination system or the selection process that we have. Are we not able to filter out candidates who have integrity? And why this thing matters when somebody is watching or somebody is not watching you? Because the kind of discretion that a bureaucrat has, the kind of discretion that this power gives, if the system is not ethical, if the people who are into the system are not ethical, it will be reduced in a corrupt and an inefficient system. What it means, for example, let's take very basic case. I mean, for example, you all are watching me from the comfort of your house. The road which is running in front of you, if somebody is not ethical, that road would not be developed in the way it should be. It would have potholes. The drainage system near around that road would not be developed. Each and everywhere. Take any example. You are traveling in a public transport. What if the tenders are given to someone who is not giving good buses? So this is very much required, that even when nobody is watching, the UPSC aspirant, the UPSC selected candidates, they should have ethics and integrity within them. And now when she says that the system is watching you, I'm very much sure that they must be having 2-3 things. One, performance tracking. Second, a matrix to measure efficiency and inefficiency. Third, to measure good bureaucrats, you can say, versus the bad ones. Bad ones are those who are indulged in wrong practices, not doing good. Now let's quickly move on to the next part. Resist the temptation. Resist the temptation. This is what her advice is. So now, what means by resisting the temptation? There was one video which came in social media, I think few months ago. I'm not very sure, but I think 6, 7, 8 months ago. It was related to a bureaucrat, or let's say a newly selected candidate who went, I think it was some party or some pub kind of atmosphere, and there he wielded power. He said, I'll show you who I am. And this was a new candidate, this was a new aspirant, this was a new bureaucrat who just got selected. So the very first temptation is of what? The very first temptation is of power. You wield the power. You wield the power in what ways? For yourself, which in today's term is called as flexing. Then for your extended circle, and then it becomes to take out your grudges, to teach somebody with whom you do not gel along a lesson, and lastly, as we say, the discretion power which comes, that goes into the category of corruption. This is one thing. The next thing which I think is going to become a problem in near about time, that is due to the social media presence, the social media influence, or let me call it a social influence, which these selected bureaucrats or selected candidates are having. Why so? Social media, especially the attention that you get on Instagram, on Twitter, or the noise that you make, it results into corrupting the thought process. Corrupting the thought process in what way? Instead of serving the people, the whole resources, the whole energy, the whole cognition shifts to what? Shifts to influencing, becoming a social influencer. Why? Because instant fame is there. Why? Because instant fame is there. And when instant fame is there, instead of toiling for the people, toiling for the country, what becomes the aim? The aim becomes harvesting more followers, harvesting more engagements on social media. So these temptations, and the third one I'll say is of money. People start accumulating wealth for themselves. The services is a trade-off. You're not there to make wealth for yourself. Rather, you are there to stand for the weaker people, to stand to execute projects, to be a participant, not a participant, rather a felicitator in the development of the nation. So when these temptations come in of power, of social influence which you are capable of doing, and of money, then what happens? Most of the selected candidates, they just go astray from the path that they should take. What that path is? That path is serving this nation, serving the society. So now, moving to the next thing. The next advice which she is having, with which I agree very much, that is to specialize early. To specialize early. Now, before going deeper into this discussion, I would just that we have that thing, jack of all trades, master of none. So here, maybe she and you might be getting this thing that let us become master in one domain. But let me tell you one thing. This thing that we have of specializations differ in degree. For example, what could be a generalized skill for me, let it be critical thinking, let it be with some tech related thing, programming, coding, let it be I'm just an average. But that average is a very subjective thing. For example, there could be someone who himself might be thinking that he is average, but that average of his would be far, far better than the specialized knowledge or the domain of somebody else's. So this specialization thing, I'll still say it remains subjective and vague, but I want to still discuss on this because she has raised a very good point. Now, when she says specialize early, what she means, or rather, if I have to see specialization in a general term, what I'll see, everybody should be tech aware. Like people, for example, in today's, what's the discussion or debate is, the discussion and debate in today's times is, especially with respect to our schools, is related with the 3 language formula, what we should be teaching to our kids. Should we be taking the Varnak? Should we be teaching them Hindi, English, or what? But when it comes to the specialization, I have this thing that each and every bureaucrat who is entering into the system, apart from all the things that you're teaching him, you're training him in Labasna, how to sit, how to talk, how to walk. Teach him tech. With tech, what I mean, he should have basic know-how, not just basic know-how, but one level above knowledge. For example, if all of you who are watching me, if I ask you, what is the next big thing which is going to define the trajectory of a nation and the human society? That is for sure going to be AI, artificial intelligence. And I'm very much sure that each and every one of you who is watching it, whomsoever is watching it, must have started using AI in their preparation, in their day-to-day life. Now just imagine having a set of bureaucrats. Let's suppose, for example, let's take this year's case. This year, how many students got selected? 1,000 students got selected. Of those 1,000 students who have got selected, all 1,000 of them, I would say, they should have a certain kind of specialization in AI. Now, next comes the management theories. They should have a specialized, I think, a specialization kind of as good as a person who has a MBA degree. They should know each and everything by how the project should be running, how to optimize your resources, what are the man management skills required, each and everything. And the next thing I would say, we must divide the work which bureaucrats indulge in into a 4-5 major domains. And each and every bureaucrat, each and every selected candidate who is going into the system must be giving a specialized kind of knowledge. It could be economy related, it could be related to the functioning of PRIs, it could be in the terms of just what I say, management. When it comes to management, let's include the social skills, let's include the organizational skills, and within the management specialization which I'm saying, why you are waiting your countrymen, your resources, your countrymen to get into a system like what you call it, Startup India, startups. Why you're expecting only and only private people to contribute? Why not you can have an individual from the bureaucracy himself who is launching a startup kind of thing and providing job? Because when private sector takes up these roles, when the private sector takes up these roles like starting and startup, the motive is profitability. The motive for the founders is to make as much profit as possible. But when the same kind of skill would be imbibed by a bureaucrat, that could be used for a social cause, that could be used for providing employment at a very large scale, great scale, and all those things, one district, one product, that all those dreams or all those projects that you are running. For example, the UP government is running one district, one project, one product. So who is going to lead them? These bureaucrats only. And among these bureaucrats, you have to specialize them to a certain knowledge where they can lead such projects. And the next thing is, which I feel the fourth domain is, there is something called as metacognition, where an awareness is required with respect to what? With respect to whatever you are doing, a kind of metacognition is required. So for the bureaucracy itself, a specialized kind of knowledge should be provided to the bureaucrats so that they know in what system they are functioning, what are the loopholes into the system, what they have to correct. For example, this thing you must be seeing, like what I should say, like on the roads, there are people with their own stalls. Each and everybody know that there exists a corruption in that by the night time somebody comes from the policemen or some other departments, they take some money from those poor people. So all those vendors, they pay a money. Now, as a bureaucracy, the bureaucracy itself be knowing what are the loopholes that we are having or what are the challenges that we are facing among ourselves. Then only you can correct it. Why you are not able to correct the system? Because nobody is having the metacognition about the system itself. For example, files, after files, then dates, then dates, then dates. You should have a metacognition. For example, your 3 crore cases are pending in your courts. If the bureaucrats are not going to have a understanding how we can solve this, if a bureaucrat is not knowing that why the government hospital, they are getting big queues, is it because of lack of doctor, or is it because of mismanagement, or is it because of, like whatever reason it would be? So a metacognition about the bureaucracy itself, I would say. So once these 4-5 basic things are there, so what will happen, each and every bureaucrat who is entering into the system, he'll have a good base. Then you can put him into any kind of challenge. You put him in any kind of challenging role and he'll perform. So this specialize early, the message which the finance minister has given, just taking it a step forward. The specialization, I would say, is a very subjective thing, but something should be ensured, some test or some training should be there where we set up a base that this is the base of specialization which is required to be there to get into the bureaucracy. So specialize early, this is a good theme. What will happen when people will specialize early? They'll be able to serve more, they will be able to serve effectively, and maybe if somebody gets into the expert domain, because the devil lies into the details, anybody who is having a detailed knowledge will definitely be able to make the system better. So now let's moving towards this matter, why I think this talk from her was very important, because it addressed few points. It addressed the recent trends which are happening. For example, what? People using fake certificates, people after getting into the system doing wrong things, bad things, not adhering to the values which a civil servant should. So it addresses those. Then next thing is that she had certain good advice. For example, the last slide that we saw, specialize early, or the message itself, that be ethical, because these are the cornerstones of our bureaucracy. These elements are the cornerstone of any bureaucracy, of our bureaucracy. If this kind of base would be there, then only we'll be able to go towards facing challenges where we'll be able to make a better society, better country. And the very next thing is, as I told you, this was not just a message. I would take it as a warning also, because there were many things which were wrong. For example, if you all remember, you all would be young kids, you all would be remember earlier in some I think a decade ago, you'd be requiring this attested copies by the bureaucrats to get some admission. Whenever you are getting admission, let it be school, let it be colleges, that system was done away with. And there were many more things where this certain people were asked to do that earlier also. So I am taking it not just as a message, but also as a warning that the newer people who would be entering into the system, there would be different matrices to judge them. And I'm very much sure that the inefficient, especially the younger lot which would be going into the system, they would be judged on different matrices. That would be on competence, that would be on performance, that would be based upon their character, how much ethical they are. And also, I think on an entirety front, a feedback about them would be there into the system. So all those younger bureaucrats, all those aspiring people who want to get into the system, I think they should themselves beforehand get clear with this thing. This will help them with two things. First, they'll be gel along the system very well. And the next thing, it will also help them to progress better in their bureaucratic career. Now coming to the practical tips for the younger aspirants based upon what Nirmala ji taught. So see, one thing I believe is that ethics cannot be taught, or you cannot teach ethics to somebody. For example, you ask me that I go and talk to someone and make him ethical. This is not going to happen. Someone who is unethical, he will remain unethical to the point that unless and until certain disastrous events happen in his life where he have to shift the contour. But one thing I believe is that this cannot be done via talking, like somebody you picked up a unethical person who is unethical person already or beforehand, you cannot make him ethical. It's very tough. But what I believe, the younger generation, the younger people, especially those who are going into the schools, those who are starting fresh in colleges, these things can certainly be imbibed into them, but this thing will not be imbibed by talks and lectures alone. You'll require certain people to come up who have been ethical, who have who have served the society, served the bureaucracy well, to lead the talk. It's just not about lectures. You just show them that there is a place for good people to perform. Good people are rewarded. Good characters are protected. When you give this message and also show them how in the longer run, and when you compare an unethical person versus an ethical person, it could be that the shorter gain might lies with the unethical person. Instant money, instant fame, instant connection, instant each and everything. On the other hand, an ethical person might be struggling with what? With more, he would be sent away on some different postings. He might be given notices. He might be getting troubles. But ultimately, you have to show the impact which that the ethical person has made into the society. That is for the greater cause. That cause has to be celebrated. That person's life, journey, and efforts itself have to be celebrated. And lastly, all those aspiring bureaucrats who want to get into the system. I don't care about bad people who are wanting to get into the system. I want this message to go to all the good people who are good at heart, who have a good soul, who have a tendency and who have an inclination to serve the society, to serve the nation. I'm talking to them. You should make an extra effort to get into the system so that you can serve the nation, you can serve the society better. The onus is on you. The onus is on you, my dear countrymen. My dear countrymen, the onus is on you that you make an extra effort so that it's a nexus of good people. It's a nexus of great people who get into the system and transform the system. So, the practical tips for UPSC aspirants: if you're good, just ensure and help a good aspirant so that collectively, whomsoever gets selected, the filter is as such that only good people get into the system. And the last practical tip, as I told you, ethics is something which I, at a personal level, believe that you cannot convince them via talks. There have to be a system of reward in the earlier stages like childhood, where we inculcate certain values, certain elements in our young kids, in our young children, where when they grow up, they become ethical. And lastly, after a certain age has been reached, where it's very difficult to change anybody's character, there have to be stricter punishment. Whatever cases are coming into the limelight, let it be somebody using fake certificates to get into the services, let it be on this differently abled quota, let it be OBC, EWS, whatever. An example must be set about those people. Same goes for inefficient, corrupt people. Example must be made. Same must go on the people who, instead of doing their jobs, spend most of their time on social media. Instead of that, all those hidden stories, all those good and great stories that never come up, the attempts would have to be made by the system to project those stories, and as UPSC aspirants, as a well-wisher of this country, by us to celebrate those souls. So dear friends, I really like that message, whatever was told by our finance minister, and do let me know what are your opinions, what are your thoughts about it. I'll love to read them. And just 19 days are left, for your UPSC prelims examination. I wish you all the very best, all who are attempting this time and those who would be attempting it next year. I just wish that you are doing great, you are on track, and I'll see you again with some brainstorming topic. We'll discuss, we'll debate like we always do. And thank you and take care. I'll meet you again.